Hello. We're going to go over numbers 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to start with 2. So as a quick review, when we're doing anything that has to do with 270 degrees rotation, I want to see two x's. You're going to change that to 90-degree language. So remember what we've said over and over again, that 270 degrees one way is the exact same location as 90 degrees the opposite way. So if this tells you to do a rotation of 270 degrees counterclockwise, x that and write 90 degrees, and then what's the opposite of counterclockwise? Clockwise. And now if you remember, okay, what do you do with 90 degrees clockwise rotation? It takes every x, y pre-image, okay, it swaps them, and then remember, if you think about 12 o'clock and you want to go clockwise, which way is it going to lean? It's going to lean to the right, so then change the sign of the right number. So let's go down here, and you can see that we've already written the pre-image points, so that's important, because if you get this part wrong, then it's going to have an effect on your prime image points. So what we did is we went ahead and swapped them, changed the sign to the right, swapped them, changed the sign to the right, swapped them, changed the sign to the right, swapped them, changed the sign to the right. Now we're ready to plot it. Now if it's going to go clockwise, then imagine that we have a circle here. It's going to go a quarter of the way going right, so it's going to end up somewhere over here, okay, ish. So let's see where it ends up. So L prime is at 3 comma negative 1, so from the origin you go 1, 2, 3 to the right and down 1. So that's L prime. Okay, and then we want to plot m prime, so 3 comma negative 4. So here goes 1, 2, 3, down 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so that's m prime. Okay, then k prime is at 0, negative 1, so you go down 1. So that's going to be k prime. And then 0 comma negative 3 is 0 comma negative 3. 1, 2, 3. Alright, so there we are. That's at n prime. Okay, so then we do, since it's right on the grid, I'm going to try to, does that look right? Yeah. So let's see what happened here. I'm going to take my patty paper. If you happen to have one, do it along with me. Okay. So you put, I'm going to make the origin here because I need that as my center of rotation. And if this is my pre-image, okay, and I put L, M, K, N. Now you might be like, well, Miss Hong, how do you know that it's supposed to go 90 degrees just by looking at the picture? That's what we're going to review tomorrow. So I'm just going to take my pencil, push down on the origin, okay, and then I'm going to turn this, and it should, 90 degrees later, it ends up right here. Now you might be like, how do you know it's not, 100 degrees? Or, okay, we'll talk about that in class tomorrow. But at least these match up after I turned it. Okay, if I go too far, this would be like a 180-degree rotation. Okay, this is where it would end up. But 90 degrees clockwise is right here. What if I went 90 degrees counterclockwise? Then your image will be here. That's where it'll end up. So it does matter where you put it. Okay? All right, so that's number 2. Now, number 1. Now remember, guys, we know that this is, you feel like this is a lot of work. That's why I only gave you 3 problems. Okay, so this practice here is very important. So if you're watching the video, kudos to you, okay? All right, and like I said, try to do as much without me as possible. And then if you can always fast forward or rewind as much as you need to do better on it, okay, if you missed it. So I'm first going to go ahead and make sure I highlight my origin because I'm going to be turning this triangle around it. So let's see what it says. Rotation. We're going to graph the image of the figure using the transformation given. So the transformation is a rotation 90 degrees counterclockwise about the origin. So if we go 90 degrees counterclockwise, let's see what that looks like. Well, we already know, if it helps you, maybe you go ahead and write down the rule. Okay? So if it's going 90 degrees counterclockwise, 90 degrees already tells me I'm going to swap them. Okay? But which sign do I change? Well, think about your 12 o'clock. Here's my 12 o'clock arrow, okay, right between the y and the x. And then if this 12 o'clock arrow is going to go counterclockwise, which way is it going to lean? To the left. So this one's going to change sign after you swap them. Okay, so let's write the pre-image points. We've got C, which is at 2, 0. D, which is at 3, 4. I'm trying really hard not to make a mistake here. E is at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then up 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, if you're struggling writing these points, you know, what I would say is the next one, try doing it on your own and see if you match it, okay? Remember, since this is your X, students always get struggle when there's a 0 involved. You always look at what axis it's on. See, this number or this point is on the X axis, so this 2 needs to go in the X spot. And then if it were on the Y axis, it would be 0, okay? So just 2 comma 0. And another way to think about it is it went to right and it didn't go up or down, which means it's 0. Okay, it didn't go up or down. Okay. So now let's write our pre-image points, C prime, D prime, E prime. Can you predict, if you pause the video, can you think about, okay, is it going to end up in this quadrant, or that quadrant? Which quadrant will it end up in? So let's go ahead and see what happens to the C. So C is going to be at 2 comma 0. All right, or well, it starts there. So then we need to switch places, so it becomes 0 comma 2. And then after that, the left one is supposed to change sign. However, it's a 0, so 0 is not going to change sign. But let's see where it ends up. So it's supposed to go backwards, okay? So 0 comma 2 is right here. So it's already going backwards, 90 degrees, okay? So C prime is right here, all right? So then let's see where D prime ends up. So D is at 3, 4, so swap it, oops, and then change the sign of the left, so negative 4 comma 3. So you go left 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then up 1, 2, 3. And then that's D prime, okay? So that one's done. All right, so let's see here. Then you go 5 comma 4 is going to become 4 comma 5, but the 4 is going to change to a negative. So negative 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then up 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's E prime. Okay, so let's see if I connect it. I'm going to darken it here on the grid. And then here, maybe I should turn it. I can angle it better. And then turn it again so I can, and you do the same if you need to. Maybe I'll bring the C prime out from there now that I know what's happening here. So, all right, so there it is. Looks like it rotated 90 degrees. Even this one rotated 90 degrees. This one rotated 90 degrees. So I'm going to take my patty paper. I'm going to find an empty spot here. Okay, here's the origin. Here's the original. You can follow along with me. And we're going to go, it says counterclockwise, so we should be going this way. Okay, so I'm going to take my pencil, push it down on the center, and I'm going to go counterclockwise 90 degrees. Now, if you went clockwise, you'll probably end up somewhere, let me see, in fact, I can tell. You'll end up somewhere like here, okay? Now, if you go 180 degrees from here, okay, center that, then you'll end up way over here. Half a circle later, whoops, half a circle later, you'll end up here. That's a 180 degree rotation. But we went 90 degrees counterclockwise, so that makes sense. Okay? Now again, in class tomorrow, we'll talk about how you can tell just by looking at it. That's number 1. Number 3. Again, I would strongly advise try pausing the video on your own. This one, I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to look a little like an overlap, and that's okay. So, at least it's 180. So, what do we know about 180? So, it's going to be no switching, but we do know this. Okay, so let's try writing the pre-image points. There's 4 of them. So, STUV, no primes, because this is the pre-image. Okay, so then S, okay, here's my origin here. Okay, so now the S coordinate is on the y-axis, so it didn't go left, it didn't go right, which means X is 0, and then it goes down 1 to get there, so it's a negative 1. T, you got to go left 1 and then up 1, so left 1 and then up 1. Okay, and then U, you have to go right 3, 1, 2, 3, and then up 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and then V, you're going to go right 3 and then up 2. Okay, so those are my pre-image points. Now let's go ahead and write our image points. Okay, So we don't switch them. Now, let me just think about what this is going to do. Okay, so if I have my origin here, and what makes this kind of a little bit more maybe challenging is that your figure, your original figure, is on top of the origin. So what's going to happen is you're going to probably have some overlap when you turn this around. See? There's going to be some overlap. In fact, if I go half a circle later, it's going to be something like this. Okay? So let's take a look at this here. If I have, and this is why patty paper is really helpful with like rotations, but if you go 90 degrees counterclockwise is this motion here. We're going this way. So if I go this way, it's probably going to be about here. Okay? If I go clockwise, I'll be about here. But if I go just 180, halfway around the circle, I keep going, I keep going, I keep going, I keep going, it's going to be about here. So that's what it's going to look like. So you see here, there's a little bit of overlap, okay? So we'll see what happens. Here we go. So we know that they don't switch sides, they just change signs. So the 0 doesn't have a sign, just stays 0, but -1 turns to +1. This -1 becomes positive, and this one becomes negative. For u prime, maybe I should make it obvious so it doesn't look like a v. 3 becomes -3, 4 becomes -4, 3 becomes -3, 2 becomes -2. All right, let's plot these. So 0, 1 is right here. We kind of saw that. So I'm going to put s prime here. That one's done. Then t prime is at 1, -1. So 1, -1. Don't freak out because that it's so close. You'll see once you see the finished product. So 1, -1. That's t prime. And then u, -3, -4. So -3, 1, 2, 3, -4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so there's u prime. Okay, -3, -2. 1, 2, 3, -2. And then v prime. Okay, so now I'm going to connect it. Let's see here. Darken that. And then there we go. Okay? So that's where it ends up. And because the center of rotation was inside the figure, then it's going to stay inside the figure when you rotate it. So let's see. Here's my original. Okay, here we are. There's my original. And if I just push down on my pencil, my pencil's mechanical, so I just put the lead in before I press down so it doesn't break the lead. And if I turn about this much, that's a quarter of a circle, that's 90 degrees, and that's where it would end up. But I want it to go full 180. So that's where this matches up. The s is on top of s prime, t is on top of t prime, u on top of u prime, and v on top of v prime. Okay? There you go. And if you had trouble with this, try it again. Okay? If you have to erase it or put it on a separate sheet of paper, go for it. This is the end of the video.